All right. So recorded the first video last week and I got a tremendous amount of comments about this. Everyone wanted to speculate about what kind of exhaustive amount of time I put into color coordinating the books. They're not wrong, but made me think for this next one, why don't I call out one of the books? And so I want to call out Annie Duke's Thinking in Bets, where she talks about making smarter decisions when you don't have all the facts. Now, Annie is a world-class poker player. She does a tremendous job of overlaying the poker world with the business world. And she really talks about things like game theory, behavioral economics, reading the room, understanding who's at your table, understanding how to read people, how to make rapid decisions, how to pivot with those decisions, knowing when to hold them, when to fold them, when to double down, when to walk away from the table. So there's a lot of interesting overlaps between playing poker and working in business. And she said one thing that I thought I would call out, because I didn't want to do a book review, but if you're at home, you're bored, and you're looking for something to read, which is all of us right now, think about picking up Annie's book, read the reviews, do your own research, but I think you're going to fall in love with it. It's a quick read. It's awesome. You might even fall in love with poker along the way. She's funny. She's articulate. She's informative. She does some really good interviews and case studies. And so it's just great all around. But the one thing that Annie said that I wanted to tap into real quick, she talked about, specifically in Texas Hold'em, the two best cards that you can get dealt, pocket aces. So when you get pocket aces, you immediately light up, and the goal is to not smile out loud because you don't want everyone to know what you have, but it's a sensational moment because the cards are so good that statistically speaking, you have a 4 out of 5 chance of winning the hand. Like, just imagine that. You get dealt these two cards and you know that 4 out of 5 times you will win this thing. Like, that's all you've got to do is everything was dealt to you. Everything worked out. And I think when we think about startups, that's how we like to believe that things will play out. We're very hopeful. We're very optimistic. We're very much planning for things to go the way that we want. But what Annie calls out is that 4 out of 5 times you will win. That means, statistically speaking, 1 out of every 5 times that you get dealt the best hand, you will lose. Like, it just will happen, which is kind of a tough thing to think about. And if you think about playing a game of poker, or even just life in general or business, if you've won with pocket aces 4 times already, that means the next time you get dealt the best cards you could get dealt, you're most likely going to lose. And that's just a hard thing to kind of grapple with. I mean, statistically speaking, at least. And I think about, like, we're in times right now that feel bad, that feel tough, that feel like some of us are feeling like we got dealt a really bad hand. We're going through a really tough situation. And I look at the inverse of what Annie said. Now, the two worst cards you can get are 7-2, 7-2 offsuit specifically. Almost impossible to win with it. Really fun to try. And I've got a good group of friends who do nothing but try to win with 7-2, and it makes it a challenge to play with them. But it's exciting and it's exhilarating if you can. But what's interesting about 7-2 is, statistically speaking, it's the worst card you could get, the lowest probability of you possibly ever having a chance to win. But I know for a fact, and again, it's just math, that you can win with it, and it does happen. And there are a certain amount of times in probability in which you will get dealt 7-2. And if you play it and you play it right, you will win with it. And so I start thinking, a lot of us feel like right now we got dealt 7-2 offsuit. And this puts us in a position where, like, you can win with 7-2. It's not likely, doesn't happen often, but it occurs, just like you can lose with pocket aces. And so I start to think through Annie's book, and it's less about the cards you got dealt and about how you play the cards, about how you play the room, about how you think about the situation, about what you are going to do to persevere. And when I think about situations like this, especially for the entrepreneurs in the room, this is going to be a moment where we think through, how do we thrive? Because we're going to be judged on this. From an investment standpoint, investors are often looking at teams of talent and thinking through, is this a team I want to invest in? Is it a team I want to bet on that when times get tough, they will thrive and they will survive? They won't die. They won't give up. They won't not persevere. They'll never quit. That's what you want in a CEO. A CEO is somebody who will never quit. That's a great CEO. That's what will make a great CEO better than a regular CEO. And so this is the ultimate time to shine, right? This is the moment. This is the moment to say, this is one of the worst situations we could possibly think of. Like, it actually, I'd say for most of us, be inconceivable that the world could look like it does right now. And what will I do with it? What will I do with my time now? How will I reset my priorities? How will I adjust to the game, to the table? How will I play the cards that I got dealt and still win, knowing the odds are against me, but that it is possible. And I think that's what's interesting about pocket aces is when times are really good, you can still lose. But when times are really bad, it's harder. It's more of a struggle. It requires a different kind of a strategy and a different kind of approach, but you can still win. You can still come out on top. So I'm just going to leave it with that. Again, pick up Annie's book. She's awesome. Watch some of her YouTube videos, but great read, and I hope that was helpful. Chat later.